The SciComm Collective acknowledges the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation as the traditional custodians of the lands we study, write and record on, and their sovereignty was never ceded. Hello and welcome to the SciComm Collective.
Different useful knowledge in different areas.
The joy is sharing it, making science accessible, the ignored final step of the scientific method.
Every different perspective.
Science is culture.
The SciComm Collective brings science and science communication to you.
Hi everyone, welcome back to our Summer Short series where we talk with graduates of the Science Presentations Unit here at UWA all about podcasting. I'm Claire, a PhD candidate in Science Communication, and in this episode I'm excited to introduce graduate of the Masters of Science Communication, Owen, who has created a mini podcast all about the geology of continents. Hi Owen.
Hey Claire, how you going?
Yeah, not too bad. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
So before we get into the juicy bits, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to science communication?
Yeah, so I came into science communication from environmental science and ecology backgrounds my undergrad was in. I found during my undergraduate degree that the refrain that you'd hear a lot talking about environmental science and why there are issues is that people just don't understand why this is a problem or this is important. So I kind of, I suppose, to cut a long story short, thought, the important thing seems to be we work on helping people understand rather than, doing more environmental research, or at least that's how I justified not going into research. So yeah, probably a bit of a deficit model way of going into SciComm. I think that's how a lot of people get into it, but yeah, that's what led me here.
So I know it's been a while, but you did complete the core unit of science presentations, where one of the assignments was to create a 3 to 4 minute podcast. What inspired your choice of topic?
Well, I went through a few things, and I suppose sort of environmental sciences being connected to earth sciences and evolutionary histories. There's kind of this fascination with ancient time and deep history, and I think a lot of people, myself included, they find that idea very fascinating, but when you're actually learning about it, it's just a lot of dates and a lot of sort of names of periods of history, and it can get pretty dull. So I liked the story of it, and that's why I wanted to use that and sort of present it in a way that maybe was a bit more interesting, a bit more fun.
And I think that really comes through when we listen to the podcast. So what was something you found challenging when you created the podcast?
Sound editing. Absolutely sound editing. I mean, and I suppose that's because, like a lot of people who end up doing that unit, had no experience with sound editing, but it does give you a much deeper appreciation for just how much work goes into changing small details that really stick out if you don't fix them, but a huge amount of work to, just change a little bit of timing or when the sound's just a little bit too high-pitched. So that was way harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, definitely. That's my challenge when it comes to podcasting. So what about something you loved?
For me, I think, and why I liked that assignment so much is just how open it is for you to be creative and expressive with how you want to do it. Having sort of worked professionally in science communication, you don't often have that opportunity. So it was really nice to be able to just play with ideas and sort of what you enjoy doing. So it was just nice to do.
Okay, well, we're going to play your episode in just a moment, but before we do, are there any key takeaways you want listeners to listen out for?
I suppose no key takeaways. It's not really about learning a lesson per se. It's just kind of enjoying it in the same way that you might enjoy a story from a friend. Like, you don't need to remember every specific detail. It's more about just, feeling a little bit more about how things have progressed and just the vibe of the thing, Welcome to Carved in Stone, where, each week, we hear stories from the geological features of Earth. This week, we're lucky to be joined by one of Earth's major continents. Enjoy.
I'm so bloody old. My soil's all worn out, my mountains are worn down, and I'm so dry. That's why I'm heading north. Get up into those tropics. Yeah, 2 centimetres a year, but I'll get there eventually. Yeah, I've been around for a while. It's all a bit fuzzy at the start. The only thing I really remember, the times we all got together. There was Carnarvon first, of course, maybe 2.5 billion years ago. We were small fries back then, barely all bigger than I am now. And then there was Columbia, or was it Nuna? I think there's some disagreement on that point. Then there was Rodinia. That one left us feeling out in the cold. Ended with a snowball Earth, if you catch my drift. But Penotia, got things heated up again. Yeah, about 600 million years ago, things were really exploding in the Cambrian days. That's when we started getting into making these living squishy things. I mean, we already had a couple of little ones floating around in the water, but we really started going big, you know? But about, 550 million years ago, Gondwana. Now that's what I call a supercontinent. It was me, Africa, South America, Antarctica, India, Madagascar, Arabia, Zealandia, and we covered, no joke, 1/5 of the Earth's surface. We even had a crack at some life on the surface. I think we were the first ones to grow land plants about 470 million years ago. We even made some scorpions about 350 million years ago. Of course, that might have been a mistake. Still got those little bastards everywhere. But 300 million years ago or so, we decided to team up with Laurasia, call ourselves Pangea. It was okay, I guess. We did get some amphibians and reptiles from them. But the whole thing just didn't work. I mean, we were so bloody big that pretty much our whole interior was desert. Nothing could live there. And to add insult to injury, 250 million years ago, all that effort we'd gone to getting life up and running was just shot to hell when Siberia up and splits. They caused a bunch of volcanoes, and the next thing you know, we've got a toxic atmosphere and there's a great dying across the whole planet. Would you believe it? North America goes and does the same thing just 50 million years later. Bloody pikers. At least those reptiles and amphibians managed to survive. We did get dinosaurs and crocodiles out of them, so I suppose it wasn't all bad. And things were great for a little while there. We had dinosaurs and we were getting the hang of flowers, but all good things must come to an end. 140 million years ago, Africa and South America decided to do their own thing, head out west. Now, I'm not saying I wasn't disappointed, but at least South America had the decency to stay in touch long enough for some marsupials to scamper over. Do you know they're from China? Yeah, I've kind of cornered the market there. Then everything started to go a bit tits up. India took off at 5 centimetres a year. Bloody hooligan. Antarctica and I started growing apart about 80 million years ago, and Zealandia split. And that stupid meteor in Mexico wiped out all my dinosaurs, as if the Americans hadn't done enough. And about 30 million years ago, Antarctica just completely gave me the cold shoulder, and yeah, I've kind of been on my own since then. It's a little lonely, but you know, I've got my hobbies. Really worked on my marsupials. Pretty happy with them. I like to remember the Gondwana days with my plants. Sometimes they look so much like Africa's. And my coral reefs, I've done it right there. Biggest one in the world. Got some humans about 60,000 years ago. Seems like a bit of a fad to me. Zealandia and I are still in touch a bit. They're mostly under the surface these days. They call their mountain ranges New Zealand, as if we don't know the rest of it's there. So yeah, that's my story. I hope I get to see my friends again soon.
Thank you for joining us to hear the story of Australia's rich geological history. Next week, Carved in Stone listens to the deep thoughts of the Marianas Trench. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for sharing your episode, Owen. I really liked how you integrated sound to help tell your story and build atmosphere. You sort of talked about that earlier, but I thought it was really effective in what you did. So what's next for you in regards to SciComm?
Well, at the moment I'm working freelance, doing some podcasting, some creative writing, all sort of science writing and things like that. And I suppose that's what I'll be pursuing for a little bit. And just trying to do things that I enjoy and that hopefully other people enjoy as well.
And for our listeners, can you share one science communication or podcasting hint or tip?
I mean, there's the classic audience purpose message, which is something that anyone who's studied SciComm at UWA will be familiar with, you know, being aware of those three things when you're creating anything. But as well as that, I find, especially once you start, if you do go into doing it professionally, wherever possible, and it may not always be possible, but communicate about topics that you actually love and that you're interested in and that you care about. Because if you don't actually care, you don't actually like it, that it does come through, and you've just never managed to produce as good a content or as good a message. So if you do find yourself having to do something that you're not that keen on, really spend some time thinking about what in this do I like, what in this does sort of resonate with me, because that's something that can really help you connect to the content and then create something that's going to resonate with other people as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining us. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe and check out our website and socials for more great content. Catch you next time.
Thanks for listening. Find us online at thepsychomcollective.com. That's com with 2 M's. Questions or comments about today's episode? Get in touch on Instagram at The Psychom Collective. The Psychom Collective is supported by UWA's Grand Challenges Impact Grant.